The day the HOA taped that neon orange violation notice to my front door, something shifted in me. They didn't knock, they didn't call, just a bold slip of paper flapping in the wind like some warning from a bureaucratic tyrant. Boat parked in visible area, non-compliant with community regulations, subject to fines and legal action. Legal action? I stared at the notice, then at my driveway, where Samantha, my late father's 20-foot fishing boat, sat parked with pride and purpose. That boat had stories: bloodied fish, burnt coffee, late-night cigars, and his voice booming over crashing waves. He left her to me after a stroke. She was more than fiberglass and faded paint. She was legacy. But to the Willow Springs HOA, she was an eyesore. My neighborhood was the kind of place where front lawns were trimmed with ruler precision, and mailboxes had to be painted HOA Gray No. 6. The board was chaired by Karen Withers, mid-50s, pearl necklaced, HOA president for life, with a voice sharp as a gavel and a temper that flared faster than crabgrass in June. She never liked me. I was too casual. My boots weren't polished. My dog barked past 8 p.m. And now my boat, my damn boat, had become her latest crusade. Within a week, they sent 2 more warnings, then a formal letter from their lawyer. They were serious, but so was I. I called Karen. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "This is Karen Withers. It's Jack Taylor, about the boat." She sighed, like she'd been waiting her whole week to savor this conversation. "Yes, Mr. Taylor. We've issued multiple violations. That vessel must be removed within 72 hours or legal proceedings will begin." "You could have just talked to me." "We did, through the notices." "Right. Well, I appreciate your concern. You'll have your driveway back soon." I hung up before she could bask in her victory. But I didn't sell the boat, didn't move it to a storage lot, didn't tow it to a lake and cry into a beer can. No, I made one call to a contact I met at the hardware store 6 months earlier, a guy named Reuben. He was ex-military, Marines, built like a brick wall, and always wore aviators even inside. He once helped me lift a pallet of concrete into my truck and mentioned he ran a local veterans group. "Reuben," I said, "how would your guys like a boat?" Silence on the line. Then, "For real?" "One condition," I said. "You keep her docked right here, in my driveway. And you host whatever veteran barbecue or fishing club meetings you want, every weekend." He paused, then laughed. "Oh, you got yourself a deal, brother." By Friday afternoon, Samantha had a new crew. The first Saturday, 4 Marines in full-dress blues showed up with folding chairs, burgers, flags, and a Bluetooth speaker pumping Springsteen. They didn't make noise, they made a statement. I sat in a lawn chair with a cold lemonade and watched Karen walk by like someone had spat on her hydrangeas. Her lips curled when she saw the American flag draped across the stern. She opened her mouth, and then she closed it. You could see the conflict in her soul, patriotic pride and pure HOA rage. Reuben saluted her as she walked by. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Care for a bratwurst?" She stammered something about decorum and community standards, but she was outnumbered by heroes. The next week, there were 8 vets. One had lost a leg in Afghanistan. He brought his golden retriever and grilled ribs so smoky the entire block showed up. Even the snobby couple from the cul-de-sac brought wine. Karen didn't show her face. But the following Monday, I got a letter. Certified. Thick. HOA seal on the envelope. Inside was a 6-page document citing city parking ordinances, HOA bylaws, and zoning clauses. I read every word with a bowl of popcorn. The last page warned of pending legal action if I continued using my property for unauthorized gatherings and non-residential vehicle storage. That night, I called the city clerk's office. Turns out, the HOA never filed for a permit for the neighborhood itself to be zoned as a private community. The streets were still technically public access, which meant I could host anything I wanted as long as noise ordinances and safety were followed. I had her. I printed the city zoning map, highlighted the classification, and mailed it back with a sticky note that simply read, "Check your facts, Karen, and thank a veteran." The next Saturday, 12 Marines showed up. One brought a Navy vet who sang the national anthem before the grill was lit. Flags lined the walkway. Kids from the neighborhood played tag between the lawn chairs. Someone even brought a bounce house. It wasn't a party. It was a tribute. A barbecue for the brave. A reminder that respect isn't about fences and color-coded mailboxes. It's earned. Karen tried one more power play. She called the cops. At 3:14 p.m., a patrol car rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, arms crossed, scanning the yard. Reuben walked over calmly. "Everything okay, officers?" One officer looked sheepish. The other grinned. "We got a complaint about a disturbance, but looks like a peaceful gathering." Karen appeared across the street, arms folded, lips pursed like she'd sucked a lemon. "You're not going to do anything?" she called out. The officer tipped his hat. "Ma'am, nothing illegal here. Looks like community spirit to me." Then he turned to Reuben. "Mind if I grab a burger?" Karen didn't show up for the next HOA meeting. She called in, which she never did. Normally, she'd strut in with her stack of binders and passive-aggressive smile, ready to rule the agenda with an iron clipboard. But this time, her voice crackled through speakerphone, thin and bitter. "I'd like to propose a revision to Section 5 of the Property Appearance Clause regarding the hosting of frequent non-residential events." A couple board members shifted in their seats. Todd, the accountant with a soft spot for lemonade and smoked ribs, cleared his throat. "Karen, with all due respect, these aren't just parties. These are community gatherings, and they've been more popular than anything we've ever done." "It's about structure," she snapped. "We are a planned neighborhood, not a parking lot for military parades." I raised my hand. "I'd like to make a counter-proposal. Let's name the next Saturday event a Neighborhood Veteran Appreciation Day. Let the board sponsor it officially. I'll cover the food. Reuben and the guys will handle the grill." Todd grinned. "I second that." Karen's voice hissed through the phone like steam from a cracked teapot. "You're all being manipulated." "Motion carried," Todd interrupted. The vote was 5-1. Karen's was the only no. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. But that wasn't the end of it. She didn't quit. Karen never quits. A week later, a man in a suit knocked on my door. He introduced himself as a community compliance consultant hired by the HOA. Said he was there to take photos. I invited him to do so and smiled the whole time as he snapped pictures of American flags, clean walkways, kids laughing, and war heroes saluting. That night, Reuben dropped by with a folder. "You might want to see this," he said, handing it over. It was an internal HOA memo Karen had emailed. Someone had leaked it to him through their niece who lived in the neighborhood. Her subject line was, "Targeted Strategy for Boat Removal and Driveway Usage Violation Enforcement, Mr. Taylor." The memo listed steps for filing city nuisance complaints, potential partnerships with nearby HOAs to pressure him into conformity, and even a clause requesting security patrols to monitor all gatherings.
"She's trying to make you look like a threat," Reuben said, frowning. "This is personal now." I nodded. "Then let's make it public." The following weekend, I called in a few favors. A local news station came out, Channel 6. Small time, but people still watched. I told the story plain and simple. HOA tries to silence community celebration and disrespect local veterans in the process. They aired the story under the headline, "Veterans Find Sanctuary in Suburbia After HOA Battle." Karen lost it. She called an emergency meeting. She sent letters to every house accusing me of media manipulation and dragging the reputation of Willow Springs through the mud. But it was too late. The tide had turned. That week, 4 neighbors who had never spoken to me brought over casserole and six-packs. People who had never cared one way or another now called out across their lawns, "Looking forward to Saturday, Jack!" Even the mayor's office sent a letter of commendation to Reuben. Karen, defeated but not deflated, made one last play. She brought in a lawyer, a real one this time, not the HOA's part-timer. They delivered a certified letter with official letterhead. They claimed that by donating the boat but leaving it on the premises, I had created a legal loophole and violated property usage agreements. They wanted the boat gone, now. But what they didn't realize was this. The boat was no longer mine. Reuben had filed the title transfer weeks ago. On paper, and in truth, the boat belonged to the Veterans Group of Southern Pines, a registered nonprofit. And, as per HOA law, there was nothing banning community nonprofit property parked on a volunteer host's private driveway, especially during recognized events. Their case collapsed in on itself like a cheap patio umbrella in a windstorm. But I wasn't done. I had something else in mind, something a little, poetic. With Reuben's help, we held a special barbecue that Saturday. This time, it wasn't just for veterans. It was for Karen. We called it the Unity Cookout, sent printed invitations to every home, including hers. We even left one taped to her mailbox in a hand-addressed envelope that said, "No hard feelings, just hamburgers. Jack and the veterans of Willow Springs." She didn't show up, but we kept grilling, kept laughing, kept living. Later that evening, a quiet knock came at my door. Karen stood on the porch, not in pearls, no clipboard, just Karen. Tired eyes, hands folded in front of her. I wanted to talk," she said. I didn't say anything. I overstepped. It got personal, and it shouldn't have been. This neighborhood used to be organized. Now people are out every Saturday instead of inside. It's loud, messy, different. "And better," I said gently. She nodded, looked away. "I brought something," she added, reaching into her bag. It was a small box. Inside was a folded American flag, the kind they give to families at funerals. It was my brother's. He served in Vietnam. I haven't looked at it in years. We stood in silence as the crickets chirped and laughter floated across the lawns behind us. "Would you like to join us?" I asked. She blinked, lips trembling, then nodded once. That night, Karen sat between Reuben and a Gulf War medic as stories were shared and marshmallows toasted. She didn't talk much, but she listened. And when the music played and the flag was raised over Samantha, still proudly resting in my driveway, she stood with her hand over her heart. No more violation notices came, no more threats, only the smell of barbecue and peace.